Intrigued us all the way through our investigation. How do so many dangerous and unroadworthy vehicles have current NCT discs? Is it possible there's some way to get around the test? We've all heard the stories about leaving €50 in the ashtray of the car in the hope the inspector will pass it. But are these stories fact or just fiction? It was time to test the NCT. We purchased a dilapidated 1993 Toyota Carina. Before booking our NCT, we took it to our independent test centre.
The two back tie rods are bent, the battery connections are loose, the electrical connections at the front of the engine are hitting off the exhaust, the battery itself is loose, there's very bad oil leaks which could cause a fire, the rear seat belt is torn. It is unsafe to be on the road, yes.
So our new car was completely unroadworthy. Will the inspectors at the NCT agree? We booked our test for the Fonthill Centre in West Dublin. The results weren't all that surprising.
Carina?
Yep.
Key back. Right, a bit of work to do on this, huh?
Okay.
In fact, as this report shows, our car failed on almost all the major tests, including brakes, front and rear axles, exhaust emissions and seat belts. Underneath the car, the track control arms on both sides of the rear suspension were very badly damaged.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
However, the story didn't end there. Over the past few months, we spoke to more than a dozen current and former NCT inspectors. Every single one of them expressed concerns about the integrity of the test. One inspector currently employed by the NCT was so concerned he agreed to talk to us if we kept his identity secret.
I know some inspectors are willing to take money to pass a car that shouldn't pass.
In other words, a defective car?
Yeah, a car that would have faults in it, which would normally cause it to fail.
And money passes hands or changes hands?
Yeah, generally it is done outside the centre altogether, where no one can see.
So you're saying you know for a fact that defective cars can get through the system if somebody is willing to basically bribe the inspector?
Yeah, this does happen.
After numerous phone calls and clandestine meetings, we eventually managed to track down an intermediary who said he could arrange to have our car passed, but it would cost €100. We agreed and paid over the money. We were told to book a retest for the car and to inform our contact of the date and time. Then it was back to Fonthill, where we secretly filmed the test. Even as the test was taking place, a new and more dangerous fault developed in the car. As you can see here, at one point the accelerator jammed. If this happened while driving on the road, there could have been fatal consequences because it would be impossible to stop the car.
Check that throttle body there, near the throttle is fucking stuck. Check the throttle body there, the throttle is stuck. The throttle wouldn't move, it was stuck.
Under normal circumstances, this fault alone would result in a fail of the NCT. Things then went from bad to worse. Our car was put onto the hoist to check the underside of the vehicle where there were some serious defects. As you will see from these pictures, it was up and down in less than a minute. In fact, the inspector never even looked under the vehicle. 5 minutes later, as promised and paid for, our car passed the test. The inspector completely downplayed the accelerator problem and never even mentioned all the other serious faults.
It came off on me there as I was doing the test.
In fact, he confirmed the car was okay.
All right, okay.
It might just need to be adjusted.
Okay, otherwise, all right.
Yeah.
When is it due for a retest again?
Down there.
Oh, grand, sounds about. Listen, thanks very much. Cheers.
As these pictures show, a mere €100 took our dangerous and unroadworthy car from this to this. It passed with flying colours. Incredibly, not a single fail or fault on the report sheet. So So how did the inspector manage to get around a multi-million euro computerised testing system which is supposed to be foolproof? Back to our whistleblower.
How can defective cars get through the NCT? I mean, for example, emissions. How do you overcome that problem?
It's easy to pull the probe out early before the test is finished.
The likes of the foot brake and handbrake, how can that be overcome? Because that's a computerised system.
It's possible to use foot brake instead of handbrake or vice versa.
So in other words, if you're testing the handbrake, you can put your foot on the foot brake.
That could be done. Computer wouldn't know.
If there are major faults underneath the car, can they be passed as well?
It's up to the guy underneath the lift, then what he puts down. If he sees a fault, he doesn't have to program it into the computer.
He just basically overlooks it.
Can do, yeah.
By the way, just to prove we had no repairs carried out on the car between the first and second NCT, we took it back to our independent experts.